Okay, this is part 4 of my unusually long-winded summary. Hope I'm not boring you guys to death. Before I forget, I would like to thank all of you guys who kind of tuned in to my little broadcast and were following what I was doing, and thanks for all the comments and encouragements. That meant a lot. For those of you who don't do this kind of activity, or even those of you who ride but don't do endurance stuff like that, it gets kind of lonely out there. I did most of the ride alone, even though there were 36 or 38 other participants. But I mean, I went for miles and miles, hours and hours and hours, and never saw a soul. And it gets kind of lonely, and especially on some of the sections like that Ross Prairie Trail section where it was difficult and slow going. It took a long time to get through there, and you know, even though I wasn't communicating back and forth with anybody, but it was fun to be able to, you know, do the updates on Facebook and stuff, and record the videos whenever I can or whenever I could. That was part of the fun of doing it. So thank you for all your words of encouragement and kind comments, whatnot. I wish I could have done more of that along the way, but one of the biggest hurdles I had, especially coming through the Ocala National Forest, is there was absolutely zero cellular phone signal and coverage in there. It wasn't until I got to the outskirts of basically downtown Ocala, I guess you would say, or Santos, that I could pick up a 3G signal. So I had several photos, still photos, and short video clips from earlier in the day, waiting to post them and upload them, but I couldn't do anything until I got the signal. But yeah, another thing too, it was hard. It was pretty difficult to, you know, try to do a race and ride a bike for that distance and pay attention to a GPS to tell me where I'm going, and still have a cell phone in my hand, you know, making a recording and giving an update. It's really, really hard to do all that stuff at the same time. I mean, it was a lot harder than I thought. I knew that stuff would slow me down a little bit at times, but man, it was very difficult to try to coordinate and perform all 3 of those functions at the same time. So maybe if I do that sort of thing again, you know, practice makes perfect, maybe I'll get better at it. I guess that's about all I have to say about summarizing. It was a great event. Oh, one last thing. I was checking out some of the other riders' equipment, mostly, you know, before the start, and the 1 or 2 checkpoints that we stopped at where I did see other riders. And man, I went into this thinking that, you know, I'm going to pack what I think I absolutely need, you know, to keep running, and in case I have a breakdown or some sort of emergency, but no more. I wanted to travel as light as possible. Now, my bike, normally, it weighs like 23.5 pounds. I think I added about 11 to 11.5 pounds of stuff to it, because I actually weighed my bike the night before the start, and it was 34 pounds with all the stuff I put on it, which I could feel the weight when I first got on the bike, but after riding it for the first few miles, the first hour or so, I guess I must have got used to it or something, or I didn't notice it anymore, because it really didn't seem to slow me down or affect the handling at all that much. But man, some of these other guys, good lord. I picked up this one guy's bike because I was going to move it for him, and I thought I was going to get a hernia, or my arm was going to fall off. His bike, I don't know, but it must have, he had so much gear on his bike, it must have weighed like 45 or 50 pounds. And I was like, man, how can you ride this thing? But I guess he got used to his, like I got used to the extra weight on mine. Then, when I was going through the Ocala National Forest, I caught up to these 2 guys from Georgia that they were actually behind me overall, but I guess they got an earlier start and crossed the St. John's yesterday morning first. even before I did. I think I was like the third one to get across yesterday. Anyway, I asked one of the guys, I was looking at his bike, he had a pretty unique seat bag on his bike. It extended way out past his saddle, I mean a long way. It looks like it could hold a lot of stuff. And I commented on it, and then I asked him, well, you know, if he knew how much his bike weighed. He said his bike weighed 44 pounds. I'm like, gosh, that's 10 more pounds than I got on mine. That's a lot of stuff. Now, unless you're planning on like camping somewhere and stopping for the night and doing expedition stuff, I don't see like that you need all that stuff. I felt like I had everything I needed. I measured out 20 half scoops of dry Gatorade powder and put them in little Ziploc sandwich baggies, because I figured, you know, I had 4 bottles with me to start. Of course, I lost one of them within the first 20 miles. It fell off my bike, and I didn't even know how, when, or why that happened. But anyway, it wasn't too much of a problem. But I started with 4 bottles, and the plan is drink a bottle per hour. So all I would have to stop for was to get water. I had, you know, enough Gatorade powder for 24 hours. I don't eat, me personally, a whole lot of solid food during stuff like that. I mainly rely on liquids just because it digests better. But some solid food is necessary, so I think I had like, I don't know, 6 or 8 chewy granola bars with me. I had 2 rolls of Tums tablets. I brought probably 7 or 8 power gels, and the only reason I brought those is because I had them at home, and I'm like, I may as well use them, because I don't usually use products like that, but I'm like, you know, what the heck, I have them, I may as well take them. They're small, they're light, they don't really take up much space, so I took those. I don't think I would have missed them if I didn't take them. Then I had some, I bought some really small, I bought a box of really small packets of almonds, like single serving packets, and those turned out to be really good and really easy to pack in a seat bag and store. So that was it for my food supply, and that worked perfectly. I had everything I needed as far as food, nothing less, nothing more. It was just the right amount, just perfect. Also had purchased these 2 really inexpensive Rayovac USB battery boxes that have a USB port. They hold 4 AA batteries, so I could charge my phone from AA batteries, or anything else USB for that matter, but I was pretty much only using them for my phone. That worked very well. I saw this one other guy that I rode into the Fort Gate Ferry the other night. He had a, I think it's called a juice box. It's a rechargeable 6,000 milliamp hour lithium-ion battery pack, and I've seen those before, and I'm sure they work really awesome. He said he can charge his iPhone like 6 times off that thing from completely dead. But that thing's like $200, and it's kind of big and bulky for, you know, carrying on a bike on a trip like this. So for like $10.97 each, I got these AA things from Rayovac at Walmart, and man, they work perfectly. You know, I had both of them powered up. When one died, they were lasting me roughly about, I think 4 to 6 hours before I'd need to replace the AA's in them, because I just had it plugged into my phone constantly. So my phone never died. That worked perfectly. Then in my previous videos, you guys saw the stuff that I had on the handlebars. I had a look-see camera that I've got some stored, a couple of stored clips on that I need to transfer. That's in high definition. But other than that, I brought that to see if I could do some live streaming along the way where I had a good phone signal, but I didn't actually do any of that because it just would have been kind of a hassle. But you saw what I had on the handlebar. I didn't have any more room on the handlebars to put anything else. So I think my setup was pretty optimal as far as having everything I needed, not wanting for anything, and keeping it minimalist and the extra weight as low as possible. I mean, some of these other guys, man, I thought at one point I'm going to see somebody taking out a microwave oven or a kitchen table, you know, sitting down having a picnic. That definitely wasn't my style. I mean, why carry all that extra weight around for 200 and something miles if you don't have to? So that's basically my recap. Hope I didn't bore you to death. If I can come up with anything that I may have forgotten to mention, I guess I'll do a quote-unquote footnote / part 5 of this stupid thing. But thanks again for following me and my exploits. I had a good time. It was a really, really unique experience. I've done a lot of endurance type races and rides in the past, but I've never done one like this before. This definitely was a first in a lot of ways for me, and I loved it. It was great. It was hardcore. It's not for your faint at heart. Carlos, man, again, I'm blown away by the legwork and the research and the planning you did just to be able to put a course like that together. That's crazy. But anyway, I am heading home. I'm probably about still a good hour from my home, and I'm just making slow progress. Thanks.